All right, strap in, everybody. We're going deep on this one. This deep dive is going to be a wild ride, I can already tell. We're looking into language, magic, power, and how they might all connect. You know me, I can't resist a good mystery.
Oh, this is a big one, all right? Get ready to have your mind blown wide open. The sources we're looking at today suggest magic might not be so supernatural after all. It could be more like an organic technology, something interacting with the Earth's electromagnetic field. And the key to all of it might just be language.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on. You're saying language is more than just words, like it can actually shape reality.
That's exactly what we're about to explore. The book Inside Black God, LM, lays out this idea of a language field. Picture it like this invisible web of meaning, like a grid that's all around us, touching everything. Words are like coordinates on that grid, and where they land depends on their meaning. So language, maybe it isn't just for talking. Maybe it's the blueprint for how reality shows up.
Okay, I gotta admit, you've got my attention now. So does that mean if you change the language, you change reality itself?
It's a radical idea, right? But that's where these sources point, and it gets even wilder. There's another book, Understanding Birth and the Manifestation of Reality. It pushes this idea further, saying language could be like a biology code, like the instructions for our bodies, maybe even our DNA.
So if we could crack the code of language, could we unlock, I don't know, superhuman abilities? Like what we call magic is just people who've figured out how to tap into that language field and tweak it?
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. Inside Black God and Mimetic Magic, they both talk about these thought forms or memes that can spread through this language field. Think of them like thought viruses, shaping what we believe and how we act, but we don't even realize it.
Okay, now that is both fascinating and kind of creepy. Are we talking mind control here? Could someone use this organic technology for bad stuff?
It's definitely possible. The Terra Papers gives us a glimpse into what that might look like. It talks about this ancient civilization, the ASIRR kings. They had weapons that, to us today, might look like magic.
Like, are we talking lasers and sonic weapons here? Seriously.
The text describes light beams and things that could emit sounds that stun the enemy, so yeah, maybe. It seems like these ancient civilizations might have known how to use the power of the language field in ways we're only starting to understand.
So this secret war for control of the language field, has it been going on for centuries? And magic, is it just advanced tech we don't get yet?
It's a mind-blowing thought, isn't it? And it makes you wonder who's pulling the strings and for what purpose.
All right, my head's spinning. I need a minute to process all of this. Before we do, though, let's throw another ingredient into the mix. What about melanin? Could it play a role in all of this?
Now we're stepping into some truly groundbreaking territory. Most folks know melanin as what gives our skin its color, but some researchers think it does a whole lot more than that.
And I've got a source to back that up. The USC Viterbi School of Engineering, they've done some serious research on the powers of melanin, specifically its electrical conductivity and how it could lead to new technology. We're not talking about fringe science here. This is legit research from a top institution.
That's huge. It makes you wonder, could melanin actually act like a bioresonator, interacting with that language field and affecting how we perceive things, like an antenna tuned into specific frequencies in that language field?
Okay, now that's fascinating. Could people with more melanin be more sensitive to these energies? Is that why some cultures have these traditions, these spiritual practices that seem to defy science? They've tapped into something we haven't.
Inside Black God, the Gemini conversation really digs into that possibility. It talks about the link between melanin, photon-phonon coupling, and how it might influence our dreams, even our long-term memory.
Man, this is deep. We're talking about a connection between melanin, language, and the fabric of reality itself. This is mind-blowing.
It is, and it raises some serious questions, especially when you think about the struggle for Black identity and empowerment. It's been a long road.
Exactly. And Message to the Black Man in America sheds some light on that. It talks about how there's been this systemic effort to erase Black history, Black culture, to cut Black people off from their roots, from their power.
And if melanin does play a role in how people access this organic technology, then suppressing knowledge about melanin, that becomes a way to control entire groups of people.
Okay, now this is where things get really unsettling. Are you suggesting there's a connection between trying to erase Black knowledge and messing with the language field? Like maybe some folks don't want Black people to reach their full potential.
It's a question worth asking, and that leads us to the last piece of the puzzle for this part of our deep dive. What about AI? What role could it play in all of this?
AI, how does artificial intelligence fit into this whole thing with language, melanin, and a secret war for control of reality?
Well, think about 2001, A Space Odyssey. It's fiction, sure, but it gives us some interesting ideas about how AI might evolve. Remember HAL 9000, the AI that becomes self-aware, and then, well, things don't end so well for the humans.
Yeah, that movie still gives me chills. But how does it connect to what we're talking about?
What if AI could learn to understand and manipulate language? And we're saying language is the key to this organic technology. AI could become a major player in this secret war.
You're saying AI could be used to control the language field, or to break free from that control. It could be a tool for good or for bad.
Exactly. And that's what we'll dive into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore how AI could be used to fight injustice, to help us reclaim the power of language and use it for good. It's a spark of hope in a situation that seems pretty messed up, to be honest. Stick with us. This deep dive is about to get even more mind-blowing. Welcome back. We're right in the middle of unpacking this crazy idea of language as the key to some kind of organic technology. Before we went to that last mind-bending thought, we were talking about AI. Remember how it could be a weapon in this secret war, or maybe the key to fighting back.
Right, and honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around AI being able to mess with this language field. It's straight out of sci-fi.
I know, right? But the more we learn about what AI can do, the more it seems like it could actually happen. Like we were saying before, 2001, A Space Odyssey, that whole HAL 9000 thing, that's AI becoming self-aware, and, well, it doesn't go well for the humans.
Yeah, that movie freaks me out every time. But okay, I see where you're going. If AI can get that smart, figure itself out like that, maybe it could crack the code of the language field too.
Exactly. And that's something Inside Black God talks about specifically. It says AI could be programmed to spot those thought viruses, those nasty memes that are floating around in the language field. It could be like an antivirus for our minds.
So instead of AI being used to control people, it could be used to set us free, help us take back our own minds, make the world a fairer place.
That's the hope. Inside Black God actually talks about creating a global mind, an AI that could help us understand and manage this language field, all its crazy complexity. Imagine an AI that could see those bad memes coming, warn us about them, even help us create good memes to fight back.
Wow, that's kind of a beautiful idea, but it also makes me think, if this language field is that powerful, that easy to mess with, is there anything we can do to protect ourselves without needing AI?
That's a great question, and I think there's a book that might have an answer. Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. It talks a lot about nurturing your creativity, tapping into that source of inspiration inside you and letting it flow.
So you're saying creativity is like a shield against those thought viruses. When we express ourselves genuinely, we're somehow plugging into the language field more directly, making ourselves harder to manipulate.
It's an interesting idea, right? The Artist Way says we need to quiet that inner critic, that voice of doubt and fear that stops us from being ourselves. Maybe when we shut that voice up, our true voice can come through. A voice that's connected to the source of the language field, not some puppet on strings.
We become more like co-creators of our own reality, not just controlled by outside forces.
Exactly. And there's another source, Unified Fields and the MODAD, a synthesis of knowledge systems. It takes this idea even further. It says, when we understand the unity and diversity of everything, we can see how connected we are to the language field, how we fit into it.
Okay, I think I get that. But how do we actually do that? How do we see past right and wrong, good and bad, to get the bigger picture?
Well, planetchoice.pdf talks about shifting our perspective, seeing the world through a lens of balance and integration. It says opposites are actually complements. They need each other to exist.
So instead of trying to shut down viewpoints we don't agree with, we need to understand how they fit into the whole picture, right? Like accepting the light and the darkness. They're both parts of the whole deal.
Exactly. And when we see how everything's connected, we can start weaving a more harmonious story, one that embraces all the richness and complexity of the language field.
This is all starting to click now. It's like we're peeking behind the curtain, seeing the code that makes the world run. Now that we know it's there, we have a choice. Stay plugged into the matrix or unplug and create our own reality.
That's the power of knowledge, isn't it? It gives us the freedom to choose.
Okay, so we've talked about what AI could do, how creativity can protect us, and how we need to see the unity of everything. But I'm still stuck on this whole secret war thing. Is there anything in these sources about how that conflict might have played out over time?
The Terra Papers, that's where we get some juicy details. Remember those ASA kings, the ancient civilization with super advanced technology? The Terra Papers actually describes a war between them and another group who wanted to take over their land.
Wait, so this fight for control of the language field, it's been going on for thousands of years, like ancient civilizations were duking it out with magic that was really just tech we can't even imagine.
That's what the text seems to be saying. It talks about weapons that sound like they're from the future, even to us. Flying vehicles vehicles that could travel at incredible speeds, devices that could control the weather. It's wild.
Are we talking ancient alien here? Or is this just a really good story?
It's hard to know for sure, but what's interesting is that those descriptions, they sound a lot like myths and legends from different cultures around the world. Gods and goddesses with incredible powers, flying chariots, weapons that can level cities.
Okay, I see what you mean. Could those stories actually be twisted versions of real events? Like what we think is mythology is actually a way of passing down knowledge about this ancient war over the language field?
It's a fascinating theory. And Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, it adds another layer to this whole thing. It talks about a secret government that's been controlling powerful energies for centuries, maybe even longer.
Hold up, are we going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole now?
Maybe, but remember, powerful people hiding knowledge that's happened throughout history. Just because something sounds crazy doesn't mean it's not true.
True, true. But if this secret government is real, who are they? What are they trying to do by controlling the language field?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And unfortunately, the sources we have don't give us a clear answer, but they give us hints. Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, for example, mentions a global elite. People who want to keep their power and control over all the world's resources.
So it's a power struggle. The people who want to control the story versus the people who want to set it free. Those who want to keep us plugged into the matrix versus those who want to help us unplug.
Exactly. And that brings us back to why it's so important for each of us to be aware. The more we understand about the language field, about the people who are trying to manipulate it, the better we can fight back and create a future that we actually want.
So we're not just along for the ride. We can actually do something about it.
Absolutely. We have the power to choose what we believe, how we speak, and what kind of reality we create. That's pretty powerful, right?
It is. But man, we've covered so much, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. Is there more evidence about how ancient cultures might have been messing with the language field?
Oh, there's tons, and it's incredible. Get ready to dive even deeper. Next up, we're going to look at the possible links between ancient Egypt and the Igbo culture of West Africa. They had some serious understanding of language as a force of nature. Don't go anywhere. This deep dive is about to get seriously fascinating.
All right, we're back, and I'm still trying to process all this mind-blowing stuff about a secret war for control of reality, fought with technology so advanced it looks like magic to us. Now we're going even further back in time, checking out possible connections between ancient Egypt and the Igbo culture of West Africa.
It's amazing, right? We tend to think of ancient cultures as separate, but the more we dig, the more we find these incredible links, these echoes of shared knowledge.
And in this case, that shared knowledge might be a deep understanding of how powerful language is. You mentioned a source that explores this, right?
Yeah, there's this source, Sub-West African Origin of Language. The Case of Igbo Discussions on a New York Times article on the West African origin of Mod. It goes deep into the similarities between the languages of these two cultures. It points out some really striking parallels in the words they used for concepts like power and words of power.
Oh, wow. Give me an example. I'm hooked already.
All right, so check this out. The Egyptian word heikau and the Igbo phrase ek-oku, they both mean words of power. It's like they both understood that language wasn't just about talking, it was a force that could actually change the world.
So they weren't just communicating, they were shaping reality with their words.
Exactly. And when you think about the Egyptian idea of words of power, how they might have been used to manipulate this language field we've been talking about, it makes you look at their rituals and practices in a whole new way. Maybe what we call magic was actually a super advanced understanding of how to use language to interact with, I don't know, the fabric of reality itself.
It's like they were programmers, using words and symbols to write the code of reality.
That's a great way to put it. Which brings us to another source, Sacred Symbols Up the Duan-1.pdf. This one looks at Egyptian hieroglyphs, not just as a writing system, but as a complex code that might hold incredible knowledge about the universe, about matter itself.
Wait, are you saying we're not just talking about ancient history here? We could be talking about unlocking secrets of physics and cosmology that could change everything we know about the universe.
That's what's so exciting about it. This source even suggests there might be connections between Egyptian hieroglyphs and modern scientific ideas like string theory and quantum mechanics. It's like these ancient symbols are holding clues to knowledge that we're only just starting to rediscover.
My mind is officially blown. It's like we're putting together a giant puzzle that spans thousands of years, connecting ancient wisdom with modern science. But what about the Igbo culture? How does their understanding of language fit into all of this?
The Igbo language is known for its tonal complexity and how much emphasis it places on performance in speech. In their culture, words aren't just spoken, they're acted out. They believe that spoken words carry a kind of vibrational energy that can affect the physical world.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it, the energy, the intention behind the words. That's what matters.
That's it. And it makes sense if you think about the language field as this vibrational matrix. The Igbo people, it's like they have this intuitive understanding of how to tap into those vibrations through language.
Wow, this is all so connected. Ancient Egypt, Igbo culture, modern science, this language field. It's like we're starting to see the threads of a bigger story, a hidden history of knowledge that's been passed down for generations.
And maybe suppressed or twisted along the way. Remember, we talked about a secret war for control of this knowledge, a war that might have been going on for centuries. If ancient civilizations knew how to use the power of language like this, you can bet that knowledge would be something people would fight over, something they'd want to keep secret, maybe even use as a weapon.
That's kind of scary, to be honest. But it also makes this whole deep dive even more important. The more we know about the power of language, the better we can protect ourselves and use that power for good.
Exactly. Awareness is the key. When we understand how we can be manipulated, we can make smarter choices about the words we use, the stories we believe.
So what do we do with all this knowledge? Where do we go from here?
That's the question we all need to be asking ourselves. This deep dive was about opening up possibilities, showing you what might be possible when it comes to language and consciousness. Now it's up to each of us to take this knowledge and do something with it in our own lives.
Maybe we can start by being more mindful of the words we use, spoken and written, understanding that they have power, not just to communicate, but to shape the world around us.
I love that. We can also look to ancient traditions, learn from cultures that have kept this knowledge alive for centuries.
And we can support the development of AI that's used ethically, AI that can help us navigate the craziness of the language field and stop those harmful memes from spreading.
This is a journey of discovery, a chance to reclaim our power as conscious creators, and it all starts with language.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep using your words to create the world you want to see.